Hey now, and welcome to what I plan to be a shorter series of videos on my leatherworking tools and just random tips and hints based on my experience. You may recognize some of this gear, you may not, depending on how long you've been in the craft. They certainly build up. The goal is to make these an easily digestible length of 10 minutes or less, in contrast to my longer build videos. Sort of hold music between my regular uploads. So make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for when I upload a new one. So bear with me, as this first video is going to be pretty basic and is really for people who have either just started out or who are wanting to get started into leathercraft. Obviously they'll need leather, but they want to know what are some base level tools I recommend for someone just starting out. This obviously depends on what exactly you're going to be making. If you're not interested in tooling veg tan leather, then there's not much sense in buying a granite slab, swivel knife, and dye supplies, or one of those starter kits that include a bunch of stamps you'll never use, like horseshoes and butterflies. However, there are some basic tools that whenever I start any project come out of my chest. If you are a regular viewer of my channel, you've seen all these. I use them so often that it's kind of pointless for me to put them there in the first place. They just permanently sit on top of my workbench. By the way, no, I don't normally keep my tools in a big pile like this. This is just for visuals, so you have something to look at while I drone on. Although, after a big project, my workbench often looks like this. By the way, if you watch to the very end of this video, I'll throw in an additional bonus tip. So the first one up is the most basic. This is my craft tool scratch-all. It's a pointy needle on a wooden handle. Not much to say about it here. It does have the distinction of being the first tool I ever bought. This is perhaps the most basic tool I use for marking leather for cutting, and it's typically the first thing I pull out. I use it for both veg tan and chrome tan. If you need to mark your material without actually scratching it, you can use a colored pencil, or there's actually special leather marking pens with temporary ink that you can purchase. Cutting tools could be a whole video by itself. When I first started, I used my old X-Acto knife. Then I purchased this Fell Model 10. This is actually a woodworking knife, another interest of mine. I purchased it from Leathercraft. It has similar handling to my X-Acto and can be easily resharpened, and is really good for detail work. But if I had to choose one cutting tool, it would be this one, my Alstom trim knife. I like the size and the shape of the blade, it handles well, it's easily resharpened, it's just a good overall tool, and you see it frequently in my videos. These are my recent additions. These are my flex cut knives. I got these from Leathercraft. These are technically woodworking tools that I am pressing into service for leatherwork. The top one there is the Mini Pelican, the bottom is the Mini Detail. The only difference is the blade shape. The handles are nice and comfortable. The blades are actually very thin, so you can get these razor sharp. Okay, so let me get this out of the way because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. One tool you will never see me use in my videos is a round knife. I had one for a while when I first started. I bought it because that's what leatherworkers use, right? It's one of the symbols of the craft. How many logos do you see that include a round knife? I just didn't like it. Didn't like the way it handled, it felt clumsy, I could never get comfortable with the action of pushing a knife through the material. I've had a lifetime of acclimating to X-Acto knives and other crafts where I hold the blade like a pencil and pulled it. In my opinion, you can point to any function that a round knife is traditionally used for, and I can suggest a better tool for it. Plus they're a pain to sharpen. Sorry guys. Alright, next up is my dividers. Or wing dividers, scratch compass, whatever you want to call it. I use these for making quick repeated measurements and for making crease lines. For me, these are pretty much indispensable. This particular model is a Osborne 8-inch. In combination with the lines on my cutting mat or a ruler, I can transpose quick measurements onto my workpiece. For instance, scribing a line for the placement of cartridge loops on a belt. More frequently, I use them to mark stitch lines or to simply make decorative crease lines. The feature I like about this style of divider, as opposed to other styles, is that you can make wide swinging adjustments quickly, but then fine-tune that measurement with the spring tension nut on the side. This is handy for making parallel lines on your workpiece. And this is my Craft Tool Pro groove cutter. And I believe this is my second oldest piece. Either that or I bought it at the same time as my scratch awl. It's been about 10 years or so. I like this style of groover because it has a single barrel nut that can easily be changed to make adjustments with. You can use this groove as stitching lines, or more frequently the way I use it is just as decorative cuts. And if you want that groove to be cut deeper, you just have to go through it a second time. And these are my edge bevelers. I've got a size 2 and a size 3. 95% of what I do is with that bottom one, the size 2. It is technically a Craft Tool Pro. I think what Tandy now calls a keen edge. It's got a concave face on it. This is used to knock off the very edge of your workpiece to give it a more finished look. In an effort to keep these videos short, I'm going to cut it off here. Let me know in the comments if you liked it, or if you have any requests for topics you'd like to see. This video is pretty basic on purpose, but there's lots more leatherworking tools to discuss. Your views and feedback really do help keep this channel going, so make sure to subscribe and hit that like button so you'll know when I drop the next video. Thanks. You're still with me past the end screen, so you get the bonus tip. Add one of these magnetic tool holders to the edge of your workbench. It'll catch all those little small odds and ends like needles and rivets that fall off and get lost on the floor. I hate having to get on my hands and knees and try to find this stuff.